So, first of all, welcome our guest from Bahama. He's the Director of Global Communication from the Bahamian film industry, Clarence Rolle. Please come on stage. Then welcome Yirgashewa Teshome from Ethiopia. He's on the screen. Welcome. And please welcome also Aysha on our stage here. Just come on and have a seat here. We're talking about storytelling here as well. And Piotr Bartuszek. Yeah, you can sit. Let me sit here in the middle, and then we start with the introduction session here. So please, we start with you, Aysha. Just introduce yourself for this panel so that we can dive into the talk. We're talking about, in this panel, about the mainstream narratives which we are used to in the past, and we want to tell new stories from new perspectives in order to have a diverse look on the film industry, on the storytellings and the stories, because now different parts of the society, countries in Africa, in the global south now get to the surface and have the opportunity to tell their stories, and they're not mainstream, they're very individual, and they have different backgrounds. So, Aysha, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Aysha Joy Samuel. I'm an actress and producer here in Germany, but also working internationally now, and I am about to produce my first film in South Africa now. And yeah, that's me.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Clarence Rolle. Right now, I am the film commissioner for the Bahamas Film and Television Commission, but I have produced 2 films in the Bahamas in the past, and so I'm a filmmaker as well.
Welcome. Thank you for coming to Germany and making this trip here. Piotr.
I'm casting director based in Poland, but I work internationally, especially promoting Eastern market, Eastern Europe actors in Western Europe, try to build a bridge between these 2 totally different directions. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And we have with Zoom Yirgashewa Teshome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is your chance to introduce yourself to this audience here.
Okay, thank you all. I'm a filmmaker and the founding director of Ethiopian International Film Festival for the last 19 years. Now we are on the way to celebrate the 20th Ethiopian International Film Festival in the coming October.
Thank you very much. We can start with you. Maybe you can tell us about the character of the Ethiopian Film Festival. What makes it so unique there?
Okay, Ethiopian International Film Festival has been there for the last 19 years, as I said it before. Okay, for nearly 2 decades, we've been providing films for our audiences and filmmakers coming from across the world. At the same time, we'll be providing different kinds of side events like workshops, symposiums, seminars, and then finally we'll be awarding the Ethiopian-based films for the last almost 2 decades. And these all things, bring a significant development in the field of film as a direct result of our film festival. Since our film festival arrived in 2005, a number of good filmmakers are coming up. We saw a very good stories, and we saw a good competition because of this film festival. You know, they get a recognition and they get a chance to be screened outside of Ethiopia in different international film festivals. Because we have established some partnership with film festivals in the US, like New York African Film Festival in the US, African Film Festival in Belgium, Makula Film Festival in Uganda, Our partnership mostly involves film exchanges, professional exchanges, promoting each other. So our films get an access to be screened in these our partner film festivals. Because of that, we create some kind of competition among Ethiopian film practitioners. And they are trying to do their best, trying to make a good, to come with a good storytelling. Of course, not yet, not yet sufficient, but we are now seeing a good films. By the way, Ethiopia is the second largest film producer in Africa next to Nigeria. We produce like over 100 films every year. So this is kind of very promising things, but at the same time, there are also challenges for Ethiopian filmmakers not to come up with a good storytelling. One is like, most of them are young, not scientifically trained, and there is no, at the same time, there is no government support to grow and maintain a healthy film industry. So most of them are self-sponsored. So they're forced to make films like audience-pleasing films, rather than artistic films. But I can say there are some good films with a good storytelling.
Just a short question to get to the Bahamas as next. But what makes the Ethiopian stories unique? Talking about diversity, because when we look to Africa, the European point of view is just like considering Africa as just one state, but it's so diverse in so many states and so many ethnic groups and so many stories. In Ethiopia, you have more than 80 different languages and different ethnic groups. So what makes the stories in Ethiopia so unique?
I think, like you say, okay, Ethiopia is a very historical country. We have a rich culture, diversified people, like over 80 groups. But the question is, okay, these all things are our ways to be told by our filmmakers. But unfortunately, I'm not seeing that much Ethiopian films with this very good culture and storytelling. Like all African countries, we have a very good culture, obviously. We have a very good, rich, diversified people. But not yet told to the people based on these all good old cultures. So I can't say there is nothing. I can't say Ethiopia is unique from other countries. We have number of unique cultures. We have diversified people, but these should be told by the filmmakers. Now, that's what I can say.
Thank you very much. So let's go to Bahama, Clarence. Your country is smaller and you have not that huge diversity in ethnic groups like in Ethiopia, but still you have a very unique telling of stories or character and tradition in your country. Maybe you can give us a taste of your country's storytelling and tradition in that.
Yes, I would say that the experience of film in the Bahamas is unique because we have, first of all, a very small population, which makes us unique in the world. There are less than 500,000 people who can call themselves Bahamians anywhere in the world. Our population is only 400,000. And yet we have had some tremendous experiences. We are the place where Europeans first met people in the Americas. So we have experienced experiences with stories of indigenous people. We have experiences of stories with Africans who have been brought to the Americas. We have experiences with colonialization, independence, and now we see a phenomenon where we are a small country where we invite 20, 30 times more people from other countries into our countries every year, and that then brings more stories. And so you have filmmakers like Kareem Mortimer, who is a gay black man from a small island developing state. And so he has had stories like Cargo, for example, where he has seen the effect of human smuggling, which unfortunately our country has been used for sometimes for people moving from one country to another, and how that has an effect on the residents of the Bahamas, and how it has an effect on the people who are being smuggled. And also, of course, his story, Children of God, when it looks at what it's like to be a homosexual man in a very traditional culture. And then we have people like Maria Gavan, who has told stories of how do you lift yourself out of poverty and use your gifts. And so people who have become, from my country, great track stars and have used that athleticism to gain popularity and wealth. So she has sort of retold that story in a unique way. And so even though we are small, we have all these different types of stories. And even though we are people who like to say we are united, there is diversity within us as well. And so you can find all sorts of stories from the Bahamian society.
Thank you very much. Aysha, you work as an actress in Germany and your roots are in the Caribbean and Trinidad. How do you navigate cultural representation on screen? How many opportunities and options do you have here in Germany?
Well, to be honest, I think, or I feel personally, that there's a positive change. But in any progress, or all progress, there's a backlash, of course. But I have the feeling that the audiences, they want to see more diverse stories here in Europe. But Europe still has a lot of work to do in representing an honest picture of society here. We're not as far as the British or the Americans, but there's progress, let's say that. Yeah, and I'm happy to be part of the change, right? And if I can inspire anyone, I think that's why I'm keeping working what I'm doing. Yeah.
I mean, people have been, yeah, very good. I mean, people have been working years before on that, and I think there was a push after 2020, after the murder of George Floyd.
Yeah.
Do you feel this change, or how do you notice that?
Well, I feel the change because the community is growing, right? And we start to stick more together and to support each other more and more in the stories we want to tell, in the ideas we want to share, and in the projects we're doing. So I think since then it's getting much better. But how I said, there's always a backlash, but we have to stay strong.
We have to stay strong on one side. But how is the how is the solidarity on the other side to stay strong? I think solidarity and allyship is very important in that case. So how is the solidarity in the community in all crafts like acting, casting, producing, and all that?
Well, I think it's how can I say that? It's still there. It's still there. It's still strong. But we have to, I think, talk more about it. We have to share our stories with each other more and don't feel alone, right? Because we're not alone in that. Everyone is seeing what's going on right now. And I think when you lock yourself away and think you have to suffer through this alone, then you get like not so strong anymore, right? So that's why, yeah.
So we spoke before about castings, and we had some casters or people from the casting industry here on the stage. Piotr, and you are one of those people, and you can contribute or promote diversity in this business. How far is diversity on your focus, and how do you try to promote that from your side?
I think the first thing is that there are various look of diversity. It depends of which region in Europe or the world we are. I'm from Eastern Europe. So my region was, because of historical reason, because of geographical location, and especially because of history, we were occupied, we were closed. There was no contact between Western and Eastern because of Iron Wall, of course, Iron War, wall in Berlin, communist time, communist occupation. So our diversity was rather into the ethnicity group which are on Eastern Europe, Gypsy, Jewish people, Ormians, even Tatarian, who lives in Poland now.
But Ethiopia belonged those days also to the Eastern Bloc.
The world is small right now, and we see how the world is changing every day. And our experience, for example, what happening on the Polish-Belarus border and migration situation, this is some kind of diversity who coming to us because of historical things, social things. And to be honest, for many of Eastern Europe people, it is a very new situation. We were in colonial, post-colonial countries. So this contact was different. And this is new culture, and this is new perspective for us. So I think we are opening a new book, which is not connected with the history. So we could be more friendly between us and more without this historical backstage. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, and I think this is an aspect of diversity as well, because we have different speeds in getting adjusted to a diverse global situation and to get used to it. So we have different speeds in learning how to deal with diversity, and I think this is an aspect as well.
Yeah, but you know, it's especially this is in the producer's hands, who has a money, who decide which story they tell. Later, we should kick scriptwriters. And later, there are casting directors who could sometimes change the visual part of cast. For example, in one of my stories, I have a musician group. So I invite a girl from Cuba who lives in Krakow and is a wonderful musician. And we try to, step by step, to show that there is so many different people, and we could unite, and we could live together, we could sing together, laugh together.
I think there are many options to make a change and to push diversity, but where do you see resistance? Do you see resistance, and what is the challenging momentum in that?
It is step by step. It is step by step. As I said, we are a very new moment. And for example, I tell you something. In Warsaw, we have a huge community of Vietnamese people. It's 150,000 people. And during last 20 years, there was only one short movie about this group of people living with us, together with us. We show them on the streets, their children coming to the school. And I must be honest that this region is a little bit selfish, is not a good word, but we still don't know how to find a common language, how to connect culture, and because this even contrast is very interesting. As I said, we are different, so we need a very smart scriptwriters who could connect us and write the stories.
Are there any chances from your side and for your country to have more global collaborations and cooperations?
Definitely. We do many projects that are not Bahamian, and they shoot in the Bahamas already. And you're speaking about casting just a minute ago. I think one of the important things about diversity is to educate people about who you are. And people, they just don't sometimes have an appreciation for who you are until you tell them. So, for instance, I can recall that one of the, I guess, peeves for Bahamians, especially Bahamian actors, are being represented on screen and they don't sound authentic. What I mean by that is in the Bahamas, we have a particular way of speaking, for example. We have our own accent. But I think around the world, probably among the English-speaking Caribbean, Jamaica is probably the best known of all of the Caribbean countries. And somehow when people are playing Bahamians, they always sound Jamaican. And so one of the things that we do with productions coming in is to say, well, that's not our accent. And I think you'll get a lot more, and it'll be much more authentic if you have a Bahamian play a Bahamian. And so we've been having a bit of success in that area now so that we can be better represented on screen. And even things that they tend to put into a production, it's someone's idea of what it is to be Bahamian, but it's not Bahamian. And so you go to a set and you say, well, we don't drink that beer. That beer is from another Caribbean country, or that's not our music. And, a kind of a light bulb goes off in their head. And it's not that they want to disrespect you. They just honestly did not know. And so we've been able to advance some of our music and our cultural representations. And so this is sort of a thing that we see a value in for us as well as for production coming in, whether they're doing a structured co-production or not.
And I think this is an opportunity to see different cultures and different mentalities are not always the same and what we used to the last 50, 80 years. And you see how stereotyped you guys are. So I think this is an option you want to say something maybe, to make a change.
Yeah, well, that's why the job is important, because film is such a powerful medium. And to get it right on film where it's going to be captured for hopefully eternity, it's a very, very good thing. It might seem like a small thing, but it can count for a lot in terms of representing people.
How can the Ethiopian Film Festival, Yirgashewa, contribute to this change, as Ethiopia is in Ethiopia the OAU is based, and it's a very international and very diverse. How can this film festival contribute to a global change of storytelling?
Well, we've been doing our best, especially for our filmmakers, to come up with a good storytelling, since we have very, very amazing culture and history. But as I said before, even if we have all these rich culture, but the question is, who is going to take? Our filmmakers mostly rely on the ticket sales. They're making films, it's commercial films. Mostly they make films to get money with the audience-pleasing films. This is because, one, I always suggest Ethiopian International Film Festival is only one platform, but we need to have education, a very good education for our filmmakers to explore stories, But now most Ethiopian filmmakers are young and they make films just from experience, just from observation. So they don't have, they're not a good storyteller. They don't know even deeply the Ethiopian history, the Ethiopian diversified ethnic groups. So they focus only, let's say, romantic comedy, trailer, suspense, something like that, Then to get money out of that boring stories. So I suggest Ethiopian International Film Festival has been contributing a lot, educating with a number of workshops, but those are very short, not sufficient. There must be a big institution that guides the film industry from here to wherever far, That's why I suggest. But obviously, as Ethiopian International Film Festival have been doing its best, awarding filmmakers for them to be competent globally, and we're taking award-winning Ethiopian films in those international film festivals in America, in Europe, and in Africa. They are, promoted. We're doing this for over 2 decades, but not sufficient. I suggest especially the government to think about this, to think deeply and support the film industry. That's what I suggest, to get a good storytelling.
Thank you very much.
If I could add one thing, I think for this education is coming from very various directions. And for my Eastern Europe region, who has not such a big contact with different culture, platforms, I have various opinions about platforms, quality, etc., etc. But platforms start showing world, even in commercial way, that world is different, that we can be together in very various stories. And due to platforms start teaching people about diversity. Normal people who are not in our parties, not in filmmakers, close groups, and we talking and discussion. Normal people who are in the front of television at homes, who was never seen, for example, girl from Caribbean or producer from Bahamas. You know what I mean? They teach them that world is.
So it's your job to realize.
I think it's our all job. Let's make Polish-Bahamian co-production. Let's find story.
I think this is the beginning of a new story. Yeah. Very good. Good to witness that at this stage here. Coming to the end of this panel, what would be the next step you would do from your side to promote diversity in your business in Poland? Maybe you would risk something, or would you risk something? Would you leave the comfort zone to promote that?
I like risk. So I change character description. So when I see it's a blonde girl with blue eyes, so I'm asking, maybe we go in some different look. Let's show something more. There is so many people. Warsaw becoming really new Berlin, Absolutely. In last 5 years, I see totally different city.
Yeah. Cast because of talent, not because of skin color.
Yeah,
Please.
absolutely. And cast because of personalities, not what is outside. Let's look inside.
But going to that point, because Aysha said there is a backlash, do you feel that in your country as well?
It must. What I feel. Everything is changing, and let's go through what we see around. As a young person, I have not such big contact with various culture because of, I have no money to travel to Paris, to Berlin to see how it looks, or even Bahama.
but I wanted to say there is a resistance in many countries in Europe at this time, and people don't want that kind
resistance is everywhere. Be honest, it's everywhere because.
So how do you deal with that?
We see. We should deal with politicians who destroying the world.
Yeah,
they pushing resistance. They don't want to have diversity. They don't want to have various sexuality. They want to only have some Nazi examples in their life, and I'm not agree for that. We should kick off not producer. I love producers. We are politicians. They destroy us. They want to create new quality. Even one thing, in Poland, when we have a right wing, when they win, sorry, we have no time, it's my last words. When they win, they start creating historical stories, historical movies who create a big Poland. Hello.
We know. So you have a lot to do in your country from your side.
I said it's everywhere. a lot work to do.
So how can you contribute? Because Yirgashewa was talking about the institutions. So how can you institutionally promote a diverse representation of your society, of your country?
So yeah, we've got to get institutions.
I think you have to enable
Yes,
that.
definitely. We have to kind of create the environment where these things can happen, whether it's through co-productions like you mentioned earlier. It'll be great to have co-productions where it's not only good business-wise, but it's good culturally for both sides, and it's also good to educate the world at large.
Education is the key. Aysha, you have the famous last words here in this the panel, and maybe you can start like Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream."
Yeah, I have a dream. I always have a dream. Well, I think to stick together, write your own stories, create your own stories, meet people and put them on screen. You know, I think that's the loudest voice you can have, right? So do it, please.
We put you on stage and this is your applause. Thank you very much for being here, for taking time. Yirgashewa, we give you an applause. To Ethiopia, we come close to your skin, to your screen, and then we take a picture from here. Come on, like this. We move here.